It just pops up and we don't know. I also tell everyone it is not live till I tell them it's live because we've had so many opportunities where we're talking and then we're like, oh, we're not there. There we are. We are on live. Good morning, everybody on Facebook. How are you? I am very excited today to have Jeromy Slater with Empowering America. I also have Darrell Hickerson on as well. He obviously helps me a lot of times behind the scenes with Females in Finance and our Male Ally Network. However, Darrell also runs his own financial service practice called Unified Financial. Darrell and Jeromy work together a lot. Now, Jeromy and I know each other well, but I would say that the conversation tends to happen between Darrell and Jeromy. And I feel as if I can't even do this without saying Krista and Rob Gonzalez. We're all like one big happy family here together, but Rob and Krista couldn't be here this morning. And so, Jeromy, I appreciate you getting up very early. Is it 6:01 your time?
601 here in Las Vegas.
6:01 in Vegas. Well, I appreciate this, and I'm sure that our community at Females in Finance will too. For those of you who have spoken to me many times, I've been on the phone with you and I've said to you, by the way, do you have people that are struggling with debt or they come to you and don't have discretionary income? And so many of you said, yeah, that's not my client. Exactly. And I say to you, if you could provide a resource for those who are burdened with debt, would it be of interest? And I've never had once where anybody said, no, I don't want to do that. Why this conversation today with Jeromy is so important, whether you watch it right now live on Facebook or you come back and watch the replay, is this. When people are coming to your practice, and I don't care if you're a fee only planner, if you're fee based, if you're an insurance agent, banker, whatever, and they are burdened with debt. And we know that the year that shall remain nameless was very, very difficult on a lot of people, individuals, families, businesses, all the same. And then we added that, holiday element to it. And now we're into January and February and the bills are coming due and they're starting to feel the suffocation. This is honestly the moment where Jeromy and his team, and through the work that he does directly with consumers himself, as well as with Darrell, are able to provide an immediate amount of relief for those families. And the reason why that is important for you as a financial service professional yourself is this: if they're coming to you and they don't have that investable dollar, they don't have that asset to manage, they don't have that life insurance money to use to purchase, then they get turned away or they're not your client. That does not have to be the case with Jeromy and his team. And that is one of the resources that we provide you here at Females in Finance, because we're really, really focused on the fact that we want to reach all families. And so I'm not going to steal some of Jeromy's thunder. They have an amazing platform that I want to show you today, but he's also going to talk about some of the pricing structure that's going to change in March. And this is really important to you as Females in Finance members, because there's some things that you can get now that will have a cost later on as an advisor, that if you take advantage of it right now would be to your advantage. So with that, Jeromy, you're up, dude. Do I need to? I might need to make you host with
Oh,
the
yep.
most.
Go
There
ahead and
you
share
go.
a screen here.
And there you go. And for everybody watching, I really appreciate it. I know that it's like, oh, it's one more Zoom or one more Facebook or one more whatever. I would not bug you unless this was important.
There we go. Well, Cheryl, I appreciate that. And thanks for having me on here today. That, as a corporate sponsor, what we do, we're basically just another tool in the toolbox, that really helps every one of your clients. And like you said, it doesn't matter if it's, your life insurance widgets or loans, real estate, that we are just another tool that supports you and your existing business and everything that you're doing. Um, one of the key words you said was relief, for families. It truly is relief that people are struggling right now out there in the U.S. because of the debt. These big banks have really, figured out how to get a hook into the American household, i.e., those dollars, those hard-earned dollars that truly get spent servicing high interest versus things like retirement accounts, and like we mentioned, the life insurances, health insurance, dental, everything else that comes along with running a house. Um, I'm going to jump right in here on and just give you really a very quick overview of who Empowering America is at 50,000 feet, and then we'll talk about some of the urgent things on how to get started as we are changing our business model because we are growing so quick that we've really shifted. March 1st, that we will be starting to charge a fee for our agents and reps out in the field. So definitely take advantage of the next 2 weeks. So I'm going to just jump right in here. Empowering America. Improving your financial situation always consists of two different things. It's either reducing debt or increasing income and or both. And Empowering America actually has both available. That as people are increasing their income, what tends to happen is they increase their debt right alongside it. So it's this kind of parallel, void that happens. So we focus on is people increase income, then getting it out of debt, that the gap actually widens, more discretionary income for families. Everybody knows somebody that's had debt, or a lot of people just sitting, and watching this call today. We've all had debt or know somebody of it, and the results of the debt, the stress, scientifically, the cancers in the world, always come back to stresses. The leading cause of divorce that I couldn't tell you the last person I don't know anybody that said, hey, we have too much money, so we're just going to get divorced. It's usually a result of the stresses of debt. People aren't able to contribute to their retirement account. There's a statistic out there, everybody that's 55 years old today going into retirement, 65% of those people will retire in poverty, meaning their lifestyle would dramatically be decreased based on where they're at today as a result of just servicing these high interest debts versus taking those dollars and actually investing into their retirements. Here's a statistic. In 2018, we went past $1 trillion for the first time here in the US with credit card debt. Now, the most staggering part of that is in 2019, we added $100 billion to that number in the just credit cards. This isn't talking your federal student loans of 1.7 trillion and autos and medical, bankruptcies. The medical debts, we can actually take care of medical debts. Medical debts represent about 65% of all bankruptcies in the US. And those are, we only focus on secured debt. So I just want to be very clear. We have some calls that come in that, hey, I got this auto loan, anything that's attached to an asset or secured debt, we don't do anything with. We focus on credit cards, gas cards, department stores, all those Nordstrom and Macy's cards, medical debts is a big part, and unsecured debt, business loans. A general rule of thumb that 90% of all business owners actually carry the credit and the weight of their small business on their own credit, not their EIN number. And so with the COVID and everything happening this last year, think of all of those small businesses that have those loans outstanding, that are unsecured. We can absolutely help those business owners with that.
Jeromy, real quick, I want to tell you that a couple of comments on Facebook to your point, and is that this is even worse for women.
Yes.
Women carry an enormous amount of the debt burden that is actually in the United States today.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. And statistically, even in our own book right now, that women probably represent about 73% of our client base. So great notice, and it is absolutely true, and I see it firsthand on that. One of the things about working in a $1 trillion industry right here is it keeps growing because there's becomes a sense of emotional attachment to debt. It's a taboo conversation. It's not a sexy subject that people like to talk about. And so I'm committed to really shifting the way people are viewing debt. It could be the most positive experience that you can have with a client. It doesn't matter what you're doing if you're willing to get over those taboo conversations, because there is so much money for you and your business that's. So the business model of these big banks and credit card companies is truly just contract law. That they've gotten really good at giving you that introductory rate, 5%. We start using our credit cards the way that they're supposed to be used, right? So we pay them off every month because we can afford to do that with these introductory rates. However, overnight, these rates go to 26, 29%, and then they've got you by the hook, right? Now all of a sudden you're not able to pay it off every month, and you're just servicing the minimum payments, and it just keeps growing and growing and compounding. And so let me just move the slides forward here. Here's just kind of a teaser real quick on Empowering America. That the average American's got about $40,000 of unsecured debt over 5 accounts and 19% APR. The minimum payments over the course of paying that off, it's going to cost that client $83,000, and it's going to take over 100 plus months to pay that off. Now, if you're in the financial services industry, do you think you could find a better home for that $43,000 of interest that's paid? That's $43,000 of your profit or your income as a business that you can support that client and that family with, really, shifting, the way that money's being used. Mortgage refinances and debt consolidation. This is why we believe Empowering America is a better option than a debt consolidation. The good old American dream. The last 15 years, it has turned into, as we build equity in our houses and we continue to get all this big debt, that we do a debt consolidation, roll it into the house, reset a 30-year mortgage. Well, that same $40,000 now costs still, $28,000 of interest. Now, in the financial services, industry, do you think you could find a better home for your client with that $28,000 that's going to serve them better in leveraging, the things that are important to them? Now, this is where we get really excited about Empowering America. We can take that same $40,000 in our settlement program, that we can reduce that to $20,000 on day one. Now, the fun part about that is if you're reducing the balance, what also gets reduced? Your minimum payments. It takes about $1,200 to service the minimum payments on $40,000. So if I'm cutting it in half, I'm freeing up on day one over $600 for that client that can be used for your life insurances or retirement funding or other things that are important to that that client. And what that means for you is, I'll just call it $600 of premium to use whatever for whatever you sell or whatever your market actually is. Debt assumption. This is why it's our most popular program, is because we can actually, the client ends up paying about 45% of their debt. We can reduce that same $40,000 to $18,000 on day one, which is inclusive of their actual payments. And how this works is the client's just going to make 36 equal payments over that 36 months to pay that $18,000 off, no interest. These are straight principal payments until that $18,000 is completely paid off. And now they are completely debt-free in 36 months. And we've restored and repaired their credit to, put them in a better position than they've ever been in their life. So 36 months versus kicking the can. And, the urgency of getting it done now with the clients. Remember back in 2008, there was foreclosures and more modifications. Every single person's credit in some way was actually negatively impacted. With the COVID and the pandemic right now, the same cycle is happening, to where creditors are actually coming back and looking like, wow, well, that was just a victim of the COVID or the pandemic era, right? So there's no better time to actually just take the hit, have those conversations, and get rid of these high interest debt. Here's just if you remember VAST is, we've got a validation program that is amazing, assumption, settlement, and then we do tax assistance. 8 out of every 10 Americans has a tax problem. With Congress changing the municipal or the codes, every single time they're in session, and then they kick it, 8-9 years down the road till it comes into effect. Well, it is a full-time job just keeping track of what's going on in the tax code, whether, it's nothing malicious. The IRS actually might owe you money. You might have been overpaying. So anyway, we've got a tax assistance program that's also available to people. I'm going to give you just a little teaser on how our assumption program works. Like I said, it's the big banks, they get together, and it's basic contract law that we've been doing this for 17 years. And after 17 years, there has not been one case in our assumption program that we have not got the 100% of that debt eliminated. So that is a pretty bold statement that we can actually use. Over 17 years, we've had 100% success rate when somebody's came into our assumption program and they finished it. And what it is a basic contract law, the same business model that the credit card companies use. It's a reciprocal agreement between two parties. It's no different than like a real estate transaction. You got a buyer, you have a seller. You go back and forth on the terms and conditions. Once everybody agrees on it, then it goes into a contract enforceable by law. And remember, the key word here is reciprocal agreement. So both parties have to agree. Well, what happens when you had that introductory rate on that credit card of maybe 2%, 5%? You're cruising along and you can afford it. Then all of a sudden overnight, it goes to, you get a statement in the mail, and now it's 29%. It's like, how in the heck is this legal? Like, that they can do this. Well, it's reciprocal, contract law. Here's exactly what happens. This is the bottom of a credit card statement. Any such change which involves an increase in the finance charge or imposition or increase of any other fee or charge will not apply to your account unless you use the card after the effective date. So they've teased you for this year, they get you going, and then all of a sudden you get the statement on a Friday night, you check the mail, you put it on your kitchen counter, you wake up on Saturday morning and you go put gas in the car, you swipe that card. Guess what you just did? You agreed to those new terms and conditions of that 29% interest, that increase.
And Jeromy, aren't these typically, let's just call, I'm very real. Aren't these typically the things that are in the multi-paper, that if you get the paper statement, so for all of you on electronic statements, you're not seeing this, although it's there. The paper statement, at least you had an opportunity a lot more often to read it, I think. And it's like in that whatever. Is that in fact where a lot of times they do that?
100%. It is in the finest print that you could possibly, this is the magnifying, part of the statement where you need the magnifying glass. It is all there in every statement. So, the point is it's hard for us now to go back and say, what are these turkeys doing? Well, they are been completely legal, and we absolutely agreed. So there's a personal responsibility that we actually got to take, right? However, in Empowering America, we take the same exact business model that the credit card companies have, and we use the exact same thing. In our assumption program, we actually go on the debt with the client. We put our names on the line right alongside them with the debt. That gives us a limited power of attorney. So we actually start making just under the minimum payments on the client's behalf to the credit card company. When we send those payments in, we actually have fine print on our checks, the same thing. We've got about 13 different terms and conditions that we put on there. However, just to name a few, it's things like the new interest rate on this account is 0. If you're not allowed to mark our credit. If you call and harass us for additional payment, we're going to fine you a fee of $750. And so we've got all these terms and conditions. We send that payment in, they process it. Guess what? The second they cash that check, they just agreed to the new terms and conditions. A contract law. They just agreed to the new terms and conditions, and now everything sits in our favor. As long as the client's not using their cards and they've been cut up and all that, those terms and conditions stay in our favor for the life of the contract. And so what happens is a month down the road, we start getting calls from the credit card company. It says, hey, you're not making quite the minimum payment. And we say, well, you need to go back and read the new terms and conditions. We're not in violation of anything. And we actually are logging all of these phone calls, and they keep coming and coming and coming. Well, let's just say that there's a $10,000 Visa, that a client has. The credit card company only has to call us maybe 13 times, and we've assessed $750 fines every time they call, right? So we actually put an invoice together, send it to the credit card company and say, hey, it looks like we owe you $10,000 and you owe us. Let's just agree to offset this debt down to 0. And that's when I say 100% of the time we've had success. with that because of the basic contract law. So that's kind of how we offset and zero out all those debts. Well, I usually at this point have a bunch of people on Zoom waving at me, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, why don't they just not cash the check? Well, Bank of America alone processes about 60 million credit card payments a month just here in the US. So it is an automated system. There's nobody looking at these terms and conditions. However, it's the exact same thing that the credit card companies do to us. So what does this look like?
You know what I kind of have to say to that really quick, Jeromy, is that
Yeah.
I do know that that has been one of the questions I've been asked as well when I've been on the phone with somebody about, well, then why wouldn't they just do it? And you've got that volume thing. Well, if
Yeah.
that's the case, then why don't they just have people call us to say, hey, your credit card interest rate's going up next month. We just want to let you know.
Mhm.
Why? Because it's a process.
Yeah.
I mean, that is exactly it. And I get that. I get asked that probably the most of all the questions. Like, why wouldn't they just do whatever? They're not going to stop processing 60 million for your one.
Right. And we've got different thresholds that to go into it. Like, for example, that we don't accept a card or an account that's over 24,500 in assumption. It's like a funnel. We'll put that into one of our other programs like settlement. And we do that because after 17 years, we've really learned what works and what doesn't work. Anything over 24,500, the credit card company has a vested interest, and it starts to make sense that they actually challenge what we're doing. Anything under that, it costs them more money to have their attorneys get involved, write us a letter, challenge it. But at the end of the day, it's basic contract law and we win every single time. So we kind of fly under the radar. And at the end of the day, we're doing them a favor. I mean, these are getting easier and easier and easier to clear because the credit card company is not making any money when you're not using your card with those high interest credit, those rates. So they want to zero you out. And guess what? The second we zero your balance out, you go check the mail and that same credit card, they're sending you new cards saying, hey, please come back. Here's a new card. They want you in their wheelhouse. So, as long as we do some financial education with our clients and not get them back in that same situation. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's some questions coming on Facebook and they're really good.
Okay.
So one of them was from Ashley Hannah Williams, and she said, I received the notification from Chase about a week ago that my terms and conditions were changing. So she's in agreement with what you said. Then Patty Bonseras, she said, is that a single account for 24,500 or is that a combined amount?
That is a single account. So we can take up to, well, there's no limit on how many cards, however, up to $500,000, $500,000 under our assumption program. However, each account, each card or medical debt or private student loan, or, each account cannot be over 24,500. So we can have multiple of those. Now, if there's something that is over that, we automatically put it into our settlement program. So it's not that we're not able to take those higher balances. It just looks a little different, not under our assumption program.
Perfect.
So that being said, I'm just going to move right into what does this mean for you? So, as a corporate sponsor, my full-time role is to bring on agents and support all the small businesses out there to use our product the way it's designed to be used. And what does that mean for you? From a commissionable perspective, this is just very general, numbers. What does this mean for you and your business helping other people? So let's use that same $40,000. On average, the commission would be about $22.40. So we've got the most aggressive commission structure out there because remember, when we're offsetting those debts down to zero, we've got a lot of money on the table to where we can really support our agents out there in the field to keep this wheelhouse moving and moving very quickly.
And one of the things I want to say very quickly here, because if you see the word commission for every fee only planner that is watching right now, there is a way that you can work with Darrell so that you are not a commission oriented advisor, because I know that's one of your commitments, being fee only. So reach out to Darrell Hickerson, Jeromy Slater, reach out to me, and we can show you how we can work with you on those clients and yet still be able to provide some fee planning work back and into your system. I just want to make certain I say that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Great point. Yes, we can structure this 100 different ways. I've actually got a few clients that we take versus pay a commission. Empowering America makes a donation to, something that's important to them in their community that they're already doing. So it could look a lot of different ways, from outreach to commission to fee based to however we want to structure that. We can do. Um, so here's just an average. I'm going to kind of cruise through a few of these slides just because of time. Here's just I want to point this out, that here's a client that we enrolled $22,000 into Assumption. Here is the kicker for you and your business. We freed up $1,400 for this family. This is somebody that maybe, they couldn't afford that life insurance or the retirement planning. However, because we showed up and we had that difficult conversation, that taboo conversation about debt, we took the same dollars that they've already had in their budget, freed up 1,400. Now they can afford the life insurance, retirement planning, and guess what? There's different commissionable events that happened for you and your business just because we decided to, talk about, the debt space with people. So let's say, who's the market? You really, any and all. If you walked out your front door right now, 8 out of every 10 houses that you pass has that $40,000 of unsecured debt. It is out there. This is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So the market is really any and all, from the person at Target checking out, using that credit card, to your friends and family. There's no better gift than you can give anybody, but to have a debt conversation and free up dollars in somebody's budget on day one. Your friends and family that have debt right now, you could actually go give them a $600 a month raise today and get them out of debt. It's a huge gift. The why we do what we do. I am so committed, first because I'm a father. And I truly believe that we can change the debt space here in the US in one generation. Because we go back to the original slide, right? What are the results of debt? The stress, the divorce, all that. Who is ultimately impacted by the choices that we're making as adults? It is the children. It is the stress that they have, the frowns, the tears that are in every single household, in America as a result of the stresses of debt. Now, when we take on the debt and people are living debt free and their credit is repaired and they're adequately funding their retirement accounts, guess what? It's a happier space for the kids in every household. And guess what? They get to learn and grow up knowing, well, debt, why would I have debt? What is debt? Of course, I'm not going to have debt, right? Because they haven't experienced that. And they start funding their retirements. And so truly, I'm committed as a father first that we can shift, in one generation, the debt space here in the US. And it's the cornerstone. If you're an investment advisor and you're putting somebody into an annuity or an investment that's getting, 5, 6, 8, 10%, maybe call it 10%. Well, if you're leaving a client servicing these high interest credit cards at 29, 20, 26%, guess what? You've still got a negative 19%, cash flow month over month. So what did you really do with the client when we haven't taken care of the debt? Because there's so much more money for those investments if we really take on the debt side.
I have to say something really quick, Jeromy.
Yeah.
Because it's in my heart on that why. You were talking about your kids, and you are one of the people that are definitely about your children. And I see it through Facebook. We're Facebook friends and all of that. One of the things I was sitting here thinking about was how many families have somebody who works a part-time job, a side hustle, a whatever, to help shore up to make the credit card payments. Okay. And I thinking about, like, with my grandkids and stuff, just as we could eliminate the need. When I was a child, I guess I'm rolling it back. When I was a child, we had a job. My parents had jobs, and they came home, and we had weekends, we had evenings, and we had all of that as a family unit. And today I see so many families working longer. They're working 2 jobs to keep up to pay for things because the debt is so easy to get into. One of the things that I could say to many of those out there would be, if you could get that client of yours back and into their family unit, that $600 or $700 extra dollars that they're making a month work and you can do the math, figure out how many hours they have to work to do that. If we could put them back into their family and still make the payment, that alone, because I feel like a lot of times, and you're a financial service professional as well, you have clients of things. If you said to them, I could get you back and working 40 hours a week and you're with your family, would that be attractive to you? I don't really know a whole lot of families that would say, nah, I love working 65 hours. I mean,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That to me was very real.
Here's let's just roll back to that $1,400 that we saved the one family. And this is how easy this process actually could be. And we're not trying to burden what you're already doing. We have made this extremely easy for you as a new agent out there for the Empowering America.
And here's a question on Facebook real quick.
Yep.
So Ashley asked, I have a client with $8,000 in credit card debt on one card. Would you advise them to go through a program like this or just use their tax refund to eliminate the debt?
What is the interest on it? What are they paying?
Exactly.
And, so yeah, there's a lot more to that. One of our minimums is $8,000 to go into our settlement, and then a minimum of $15,000 to go into our assumption program. So when I hear they only have one card, one single card, $8,000, that would go into our settlement. They could pay that off as early as a year. However, in the process, their credit would negatively be impacted, and that we're talking about $4,000. So we would reduce it from 8,000 down to 4,000. Those minimum payments to pay off that $4,000 very manageable. However, you've got to look at, is it worth the credit hit, or maybe they're already in credit.
She just said 26.99% interest rate with a $247 minimum per month payment. So one of the things I'm going to say to that, Ashley, is this: also be thinking about if you take that lump sum and pay that card off, you leave no nest egg for yourself. If this client does not have a nest egg, and girlfriends, we all know, if you do not have that money to pay for that car thing that might happen down the road. Darrell and I one day came home and just had an air conditioning, or was it the furnace? That was it. It was done. And next thing you know, and we had that come in, and but we had a nest egg set aside to be able to do those things. That would be one of the driving factors. And also for single moms out there, that really frightens me when I see people just taking a lump sum, paying something off. I get it, but then having no nest egg. And let's be honest, everybody, we can sit there and say, oh, but they're going to take the money. If they don't have the educational component and the wherewithal, now that everything's paid off, now you're going to have to take that, because that is part of it. The financial coaching that comes with this to teach people how to be better stewards of their money after you get them out of debt is also critical to this working. This plan will always be here to work. But the goal is, as Jeremy's point at the very beginning, is to get people to eliminate this behavioral problem that we have. So I'm just going to say that my only reservation in the taking that lump sum, paying it all off, is please have another nest egg, something in place to help if they're expecting to get that money. I might be in the minority on that thought, but
here's the math on that. Okay, let's just pretend the tax return's $10,000 and they owe $8,000 on the credit card, right? If they put it into one of our programs, they're going to net themselves $14,000. So see, they're going to keep their $10,000 and they're only going to end up paying $4,000 of the $8,000. So their net dollars is $14,000 into their nest egg or emergency fund or in their bank account. If they paid it off lump sum, they're only $2,000 net dollars, right? Because they took, of the 10, paid 8,000 off on the credit card. Now they only have $2,000 nest egg, $14,000 nest egg, or 2,000. That's how I look at these kind of.
That's how I look at it as well, and I know that's how Darrell thinks.
Yeah, and I just want to remind you that it is a 0% interest too. So to enter the program, but 26.9% is lowered to 0.
Right. Yeah, there were principal payments only on our any and all of our programs. So yeah, great question. And I appreciate that. So yeah, go ahead.
Can you say who qualifies for the programs under the market and why, and who would actually benefit? I know you said everybody, but what are the qualifications?
It is really the debt that qualifies for the programs. So we don't do any credit checks. We don't mind you that we can take people that are been 10 months in collection accounts. They've already had, derogatory credit. They're swimming up, stream that, we can absolutely come in and help every single one of those families. So the market is truly any and all. It is the debt that qualifies for what program. So when I said that we've made it very easy, we don't want to take away from your existing business. When you do find the debt, okay, when you find the debt, let's just call it bird dogging. When you find the debt, it is simply as making a phone call. We've got an 877 number. It's a three-way call. You get on the call with the client and say, hi, this is Darrell. Here's my agent ID. I've got Mrs. Smith on the phone here. She's got 32,000 of unsecured debt. She wants to find out what program she qualifies for. That's it. We take the call over from there. We do the paperwork. We do the statements. We do the correspondence. We do everything. There is not one more thing that you need to do with that client in the debt space. It is truly just handing that client off, and you make your full commission or, fee or, whatever on top of that. So we've made it very easy for everybody out in the field to support and really create the momentum and help as many families as we can. We don't want to bog you down or take you away from your existing business or bog you down with the paperwork and the processes and all, because none of that stuff is sexy. It's not fun.
Well, that, and it's really, I'm going to say this, somebody who works in insurance, it's not in good order. I love you all. If you're watching this, I love you. But paperwork is just not your jam, and I know that.
NIGO.
No, IGO is no go for most people. So let them do that job. How do they get plugged into this?
Hey, so the next step, and remember that we are charging. Oops, let's go forward. There we go. So Darrell and I do webinars all the time. We do three-way calls. If you need support and help, we are here to service and be really your backup. That we do a corporate overview every single Wednesday, and that is just who Empowering America is. We go through a lot more of our platforms. We just kind of brushed on one today. I do agent trainings on every Friday for people across the country that we dig a little deeper into the nuts and bolts of how and why and what. Conference calls. That here's my information right here. Now this next slide, Darrell is always a point person on this also. This is how you get plugged in. You would go to MPoweringAmerica.com, and there's an IMO code, and it takes about 3 minutes to register. 3 minutes of your time. You go to MPoweringAmerica.com. At the bottom of the first page, when you go to associate login, they're going to ask for an MA code, your IMO code. That is MA26069. You're going to plug that in. It's going to verify it. Then you put in your banking information. That's how you want to get paid. So if you want it to run through your business, make sure you use the business information and not personal. If you want it personally, put your personal information in there. And then we've got a Slack channel subscribed to Empowering America. That is really a big forum to ask questions, get support. Just like you asked the question about $8,000, Ashley, hey, I've got this. What do you think about that? We've got a whole forum. I'm also available to take those on text message, emails, and or phone calls. So get plugged in. It does not cost anything today to become an agent. Okay, so as of March 1st, we are charging $149 to become an agent to get an empowering number. It's a tech fee on top of that of $19, a month. So after March 1st, there's fees on the $149 to become an agent. So get after.
Take advantage of it now.
And if you know people, like if you know,
or you have a junior person in your
friends
office,
and families or coworkers that, hey, might be. Yes, get them in there and get them a number, because it's it'll just save you.
That's right. And so one of the things that I've advised a few of the people, and there's a comment on Facebook I want to make certain I make here as well. But if you have a junior associate in your office, this is a really good way to get them, and I'm a pretty good marketer. I think I made a joke to Darrell one time. Every time we drive and we're in a parking lot and we see somebody's plates are expired by about a year, I'm like, take that card and slip that debt card in, because if they haven't paid theirs in
They're ready.
Missouri, if you haven't paid your sales tax, you're not renewing your plates. Okay. And so there's little signifiers of things, and I kind of joke, but at the same time being pretty serious. Patty Bonsera said, so basically, I just have to direct the client to you. I don't have to know all the ins and outs of the difference between the settlement, the validation, the assumption, right? Because honestly, this is not my area of expertise.
You're spot on. Great notice. And that's exactly how we've designed it to support you and being the best at what you do and not take you away from that it is truly a referral. Get them over to us on a live call transfer and we take it from there.
And then Ashley asked, do agents also have access to the services? And I'm going to assume one of two things, that she can do it herself, as in, or she could actually put herself through the program. And I would say, Jeromy.
And guess what? You're going to get a commission on your own debt.
Yeah.
Yep, 100%. And there's no better way to really kind of go through the process and learn how we function, to do it yourself, have a firsthand experience. And, and I challenge any and all to do that, because now you're going to get really fired up on how easy, quick, and professional the process is, to where you're going to go out and talk to about 30 more people in the same day.
Yeah, it does actually help. And this is really important too, is like, if you have some children with some, especially those, and you can help with definitely the unsecured, the private loans that are out there. How about federal loans? What do those look like today?
So we've got a federal student loan program that we do. It has been in forbearance under the CARE Act over the last year. However, we actually just opened that up the last 2 weeks to start taking those and start getting ahead of the curve. So we are taking the applications. We are working with federal student loans as of 2 weeks ago. And remember, there's private student loans and federal. We can do both. Private student loans go right alongside your credit cards, medical debts, and everything else. The private or the federal student loans, a separate program. We've got some other programs that we're rolling out on our validation that we are soon, in the next, I would say 30 days, be able to do some consolidation loans to find more dollars when people are servicing these high interest on even their auto loans. Where we can actually take those, roll and package them into unsecured, and then put them into the same program. So we've got a lot of different exciting stuff out there.
Yeah, you do. This has been easy.
Credit
Darrell?
repair. There's a credit repair program starting too. So
that is starting now. We've got a credit DNA to where if you just want to repair your credit, we can help people with that also. We've got a self-serve and we've got a VIP service where we do it for you, or we kind of walk you through the process on your own.
That's great. I didn't even know that. I know Darrell's been in lots of training, and I've heard, I always say, you got debt, call Darrell. I feel like he's my better call Saul, but it does work. And I have to tell you, it is one of the things that I get to see. One of the things I love about this particular program, I don't work as much in it as Darrell do. I do a lot of the referral into it, but there is a lot of satisfaction in hearing people say about the relief. Like, I have my life back. I'm breathing again. Like, I just feel the suffocation of it, and I do, and people, and I know that there's different opinions out there too. Jeromy, you and I've had this dialogue early on, and that is, I realize that people got themselves there. They shouldn't have to suffer forever for mistakes that were made on how to, and we're really not taught. I just posted yesterday on LinkedIn. We're not taught any type of money management courses in high school. And you get out of high school, you're 18, you're bombarded with credit cards.
Yep.
And you feel like you're a big shot because you fill them all out and put them in your wallet, your purse, or whatever. And you're like $100 bills, y'all. You're out there doing the thing. And let me tell you, they want $100 bills, y'all. Back to them. And then some. We're not teaching them how to manage that.
There's a great tool when people are going to Empowering America to register. Notice in the upper right-hand corner, there is a debt calculator. The sales process is so simple. You could take any client at any time, and in 3 seconds, go to that debt calculator, and you'll be able to see exactly what we can do for them. And do it your personal stuff. Go to the website, use that debt calculator, see what we can actually do for you. And on your point that there is no education, for financial education on any of this.
Yeah.
It is one of our biggest markets is true, like from an immigration perspective. You know, that you've got people coming from countries that didn't have credit at all. And the second they land here in the US, they are bombarded with all these offers and credit cards and this and that. And they've got 5 and 10 and 15 of them. And even at $500 a piece on the credit limit, you know, it is free money. You know, what do? There is no education in, you know, that comes with how we function in the credit world here in the US.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Jamaica about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was taking one of those little bus rides back, and I would look over and I'd see these homes, and they'd be like partly built, then there'd be this part that was like kind of unbuilt. And I asked one of the drivers, I was like, how come there's so many homes like that? And they said, we don't have credit. You buy the pieces of what you can and build what you can, then you stop.
Yeah.
And you buy the pieces. And then the problem with that is they said, is it that it gets ravaged by rain or whatever. And then they have to start all over again because they're, you know, it's the same. So when they come, so anyone comes to the United States, and we're talking about that very thing, like, oh my gosh, you know, you have all of this opportunity to do things. And I have to tell you, so Patty said, sometimes people have no choice but to use their credit card. Like and I can tell you that for a fact. I had that happen to me in 2017 when in my previous relationship, whenever I got divorced, I didn't have a job and money was gone. And I had like 2.5 months there where my credit cards are what floated me till I could get back on my feet and get that down. So I think that there's a lot of truth. And she said the medical debt is horrible in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It
horrible.
represents 65% of bankruptcies is a result of medical debts alone here in the US. You're spot on. It is a massive problem. However, we can help with it.
Yeah.
Not all medical debts go to a collection company to get to collect that money on behalf of the hospitals and doctors and stuff. We can absolutely take care of medical debts and get relief for those American families on day one.
Yeah, no, I love this. So this has been fantastic. Darrell, do you have any closing words? You have lots of people who say they want to, there's comments in there about talking to about you about this, but talk about your experience as an agent real quick.
Oh, I've been trying to, but it's hard to get a word in edgewise by you. No, this has been great. It is a hard conversation to have with someone. People don't want to talk about it. Even when you do ask you, do you have debt? Oh, no, I don't have debt. Then you pry a little deeper and, oh, yeah, I got this, I got that. And I just spoke with a lady yesterday. She doesn't even know how much medical debt she has. Her husband was in the hospital for a year. She's like, I don't even know how much we have. So she's been one I just talked to her yesterday, so I'm meeting with her next week. I told her to try to get all the debt together she can get, all the paperwork, and then we'll make a phone call to the qualifying specialist. And then it's real easy. It's real simple. You just get on the phone and call, and the qualifying specialist does all the work. He asks the questions. You know, I just make sure that I tell the client that, yeah, this may hurt your credit score, but, you know, it's already hurting if you need debt relief. So this is going to clear it up in 3 years, and it's going to be better than when you started. And I also get paid on their debt. So they get out of debt, they can buy more money, I get paid. So it's a win-win for everybody.
You know, and I'll give you a marketing little tool here, everybody. With a tool with something like this in your arsenal of ways that you can get in touch with people, center of influences, think about this now. The people who should start becoming your new best friend would be like car dealerships, the finance managers there. The people get turned down. They could be giving your card out because they're going to know. How about real estate agents who or mortgage underwriters who run those, you know, notes, you know, run those reports and like, yeah, you don't qualify here. Why don't you call Darrell? Why don't you call Jeromy? Why don't you call Patty? Why don't you call somebody? And have little cards made that they can have right there to your number. Those need to be Facebook ads, you know, going out and talking to people and running some promotional things to get people on a webinar like Jeremy's suggesting so that they can learn about that. And that's just some free marketing ideas right off the top of my head. People are always like, how do I get in front of more people? Tools like this is, you know, fantastic, way to do it. And you're actually doing some meaningful work around there, around it too. So Jeromy, I am grateful you got up at the crack of dawn. I don't think you sleep, number one.
I don't think so either.
I know we've said that actually, like people think I don't sleep, and I did get up at 5:30 this morning. So I'm pretty much a go-getter, but you're a whole nother level, dude.
Well, I appreciate it. You know, I'm definitely committed to have a positive impact on as many people as I possibly can. That is my mission statement
You
personally.
do.
And really, the method is going to be supporting people get out of debt. You know, it truly, you know, creates more smiles in the world versus what, you know, us on the flip side of that. So
Yeah.
that's my commitment. And I look forward to working with any and all that takes interest in, you know, Empowering America. We showed you the IMO code. Darrell is a direct contact, and I appreciate both of you having me on today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll be in touch. And again, take a nap, dude. You deserve it.
Time to get to work. So see, it's Friday. I do my agent training call, national call, here in a few hours.
He's this excited all day. I have talked to you at night. I have talked to you early, always. What'd you say, Darrell?
I'll see you in a couple hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, Darrell, see you
That's
later.
right. That's right. Okay.
Everybody says it's been very helpful. Thank you, Jeromy. You're the best.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, friends.
Bye.
Bye.